So really today I'm trying to put a bow on the previous three presentations that we've done. The first one was about compliance and laws and just broadly about the web content accessibility guidelines. The second presentation was about building accessible websites from scratch. The third presentation was about offering accessibility as a service. And here I'm just trying to kind of pull it all together with some broad best practices and some situational stuff. So, the overall idea here was to help agencies become familiar with web accessibility, its benefits, and WCAG, help you understand compliance, why this matters, demonstrate some different paths to building new websites and upgrading your portfolio and reducing legal risk for your clients. And then, probably most importantly, helping you to add a new revenue stream to your agency. So, we've got a coupon code that you can use when you sign up for RAMP. RAMP is our suite of web accessibility software and tools. Includes automated scanning, manual auditing, helps you create record keeping of all the accessibility work. It's got a variety of features in it. So most agency clients sign up for our RAMP Pro Plus plan that is $5.99 a month, and it includes up to 30 websites and unlimited users and an assigned accessibility specialist from our team. So what we've done here is, in addition to the 14-day free trial, you can use this coupon code Agency Webinars 2024, and this will give you a free first month following your trial. So it gives you an overall 6 weeks, and hopefully using the information from this webinar series. And of course, feel free to ask any questions you may have. The idea is that you'll have 6 weeks to become profitable and hopefully start generating some revenue. All right, so the first thing I'm going to go over today as part of this presentation is responding to an ADA demand letter. So this is the most common legal situation we see people in. There's obviously the European Accessibility Act, where enforcement is upcoming in 2025. There's ADA Title II, that's enforcement's coming into play in 2026. There's the AODA, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, a variety of laws out there. In the US, the one we see most often is ADA Title III. So that pertains to private sector websites. Every website has to be accessible the same way a physical location needs to be accessible. Customers have the right to access your goods and services in the same way your physical building needs ramps and doors and parking spots and bathrooms. Your website needs to be accessible for users with disabilities. So the way enforcement works with ADA Title III is there are lawyers that send demand letters on behalf of folks with disabilities, and those demand letters are typically alleging that a website is not accessible, therefore the plaintiff could not access your goods or services, and therefore they tried to do business with you or denied access and are suing you. And so there's some class action lawsuits we've seen. There's very specific demand letters, there's very broad demand letters, but for better or worse, this is how this is being enforced, is it's being enforced in the courts based on legal precedent. So if you receive a demand letter, that's usually the first step in an ADA lawsuit. And number one recommendation is don't just sit on it and ignore it. You need to respond to it immediately. The quicker you can get things into motion, the better the outcome is definitely going to be. So first steps, you can feel free, if you're one of our customers, or if you're an agency and one of your customers gets a demand letter, send it over to us and we're happy to review, take a look, and get you on the path to figuring out a resolution. And then we'd also encourage you to encourage your client to contact their insurance company. Oftentimes insurance will cover part or all of the resolution of these letters. And also try to retain legal counsel that has experience ideally in this space. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend just calling up your typical lawyer. We've seen a lot of situations where, they can spin a lot. They're basically billing by the hour and they're spinning in the mud trying to figure out how to resolve this. So try to find some legal counsel, and this is where your insurance company may be able to recommend legal counsel. Um, and then again, we'll be happy to review as well. So there's a couple of like different situations that we see when people receive demand letters. So situation A is there has not been any accessibility work completed. There's no accessibility page on the website, either willfully or for whatever reason this has been ignored. And so when these letters come to businesses that have just ignored or were unaware of this as a requirement, it's not ideal, right? So in this situation, there's very little we can do to help minimize damages. We kind of need to just work on a resolution. So here we would recommend creating an accessibility page with a feedback mechanism. That's always our first recommendation. We would recommend retaining a third party to perform an audit, typically accelerated, upgrading your website to meet the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and this may be a manual audit and an upgrade or a rebuild, subscribing to ongoing monitoring, and paying damages and legal fees. So our recommendations align very much with these settlement letters that we see. And sometimes that's when the client's coming to us. They don't come early. They spend a lot of time, a lot of legal fees going back and forth with lawyers trying to arrive at this settlement. If you come to us first, we can help kind of steer the conversation with the lawyers. Hopefully, they listen and take our recommendations. But this is typically what the resolutions include, that final like deal to make the lawsuit go away. It doesn't often go to courts. It's usually settled out of court, which is part of what makes tracking these lawsuits so difficult. The big thing here is paying the damages and the legal fees if you get one of these letters is often more money than it would have cost to just fix the issue proactively. So you have been warned. At this point, I find it very hard to believe that folks are unaware of these ADA lawsuits. It's more and more just willfully ignoring them, but get ahead of this. So situation B is the website owner has done some work. So there's some documented and completed accessibility work. So first thing we look for here in this situation, here we can actually start to help a little bit. So the question here, first and foremost, is there an accessibility page? And does it have a feedback mechanism? So there is space in the law to provide a reasonable accommodation, but you need to provide a way for a user with a disability to report a barrier to you and to request an accommodation. So if you have an accessibility page with a feedback mechanism, what we can do is dig in and see, did anyone email accessibility@acme.com or your customer service rep? Do you have any record that this plaintiff actually got in touch and tried to do business with you, tried to report the barrier? And if you don't have records and you did have that page up, we're able to push back a bit and say, hey, why didn't you fix this? Why didn't you report this issue? We would have gladly fixed it. And ideally, on top of this, too, you want to have documented any prior responses and accommodations that you provided to your customer. So the idea here is in RAMP, if you've documented these as user tickets, when people report barriers and request accommodations, you have proof that in the past you have helped resolve people's accessibility issues, which can help reduce the settlement when you're working through a demand letter. And then continued here, the next thing we would look for is if the website has completed work in RAMP, if there's documented work, we would then run an automated accessibility scan to provide actionable improvements. Those are really quick, and our first recommendation for folks that receive a demand letter is make a good faith effort immediately. Like, do the automated issues as quickly as possible so you can show to your legal team, to the plaintiff, that you are taking this seriously. And then review the details of the complaint. So here we want to see what's relevant. Maybe there's some stuff we can push back on. Oftentimes there's some like broad, kind of uh, cookie cutter issues that get reported, and we've had success in pushing back on those. More and more, we're seeing kind of letters that are just broadly saying this website doesn't meet WCAG, or this website has an overlay which creates a separate but equal scenario. So anyway, we can take a look. We can help you push back on the specific issues. And then the other important thing is you can't be WCAG conformant unless you've done manual auditing. So we need to take a look at the website and see whether manual audits have been completed and whether remediation tasks generated from those audits have been completed. So our recommendation is always immediately upgrade to 100 of 100 score. Ideally, you've done some manual auditing, and we might recommend doing some additional manual auditing. And then we should also review and see if there's any relevant items we can push back on, and then we should immediately fix the valid issues from the complaint. And again, the whole goal here is minimizing the back and forth and as rapidly as possible in order to stop the legal fees from adding up with billable hours. Let's just do the work as quickly as we can. All right, situation C, someone receives a demand letter and they have an accessibility page and they've completed recommended accessibility upgrades. We've never received a demand letter in this situation. So to my knowledge, no customer on Ramp that has followed our recommendations has received a demand letter. We've built our tool, we've built our processes to help you be compliant with all the major accessibility laws. We are rolling out some documentation in the coming week or two, probably after break when we get back. We've got some really handy one sheets now that outline these regulations. So if you follow our recommendations, you most likely are not going to receive a demand letter. And if you do, I would love that day, because I'm looking forward to that day so that we can help our customer respond. And there's such a minimal risk at that point if you have a WCAG compliant website that it's just not going to happen. So we can also provide a certification letter. So if you followed our process, we'll typically reach out to you upon completion, or you can reach out to us and request a certification letter. We also have certification statements that we can put on your accessibility page or on your Ramp Accessibility Center saying you've completed our process. So by all means, if you've completed all the work, let us know and we're happy to support you. All right, so the other big piece is clients need to understand their responsibilities. They need to know that accessibility is not a one-time project. By having a website online, there is always going to be risk, and they need to hold up their end of the obligation. They need to be responsible. So you should invite them to Ramp. Show the work that you've done. We've set up Ramp. That Pro Plus plan I mentioned earlier has unlimited users, and you can easily set up your clients with a view of only their website or websites. We'd also encourage them to download the Accessible Web Helper Chrome extension. The idea here is that they can use that when they're adding content, when they're updating products. They can scan every page for 100 of 100 automated score, and if they find issues, there's instructions in the Chrome extension on how to fix them. If they can't fix them, they can create tasks for your team at the agency to fix. Ideally, billable tasks, most likely. And then you need to make sure they're responding to accessibility emails and calls from customers and providing accommodations, documenting the reports and in Ramp, and then resolving the barriers. So make sure the clients understand that there are responsibilities for updating the website and responsibilities in terms of customer service that they need to be fulfilling on their end. The other big thing is work this into your processes and educate your people. So accessibility doesn't cost that much when everyone is thinking about it and when it's being implemented at multiple steps. Where it costs a lot of money is when nobody does it and you get an ADA demand letter, or when nobody does it, and then you find that you have a customer that's requiring accessibility and you need to go rework all your code or rework a full website. So shift left and try to work this into everything you're doing. So we have Accessible Web Academy that's available to our agency clients. So you can sign your team members up for courses. We have various courses for different roles within an organization, different functional content for content creators or designers or developers. We have best practice courses. So take advantage of Accessible Web Academy. It's intentionally built to be super affordable. Build accessibility checks into every relevant process. So make sure that designers, developers, QA, content creators, that they have tools and that they are using the tools and that they know they have a responsibility to be completing accessible work as part of their process. And also make some investments into future efficiency. So what I mean here is our most successful clients here, when we do manual audits, for example, on a website that maybe is midway through building, they don't just roll our findings into that particular website they're building. They'll roll our recommendations into their core template so that the next time they go and start a project, the foundational template they're using on that project is that much better. So, don't just always be thinking about the project you're working on, but try to take what you're learning and apply it to the different building blocks that you're using for future projects. On our Ramp Pro Plus plan, we have an assigned accessibility specialist. Leverage that specialist. Ask them questions. Our specialists, on average, probably have about 20, 30 different clients they're working with. They all have a wealth of experience, and we're happy to answer any questions really on any accessibility topic. So very open-ended, but you can lean in to our specialists whenever you need support to help you move through your accessibility work better. You can also use our services. So we have accessibility audit services, UX testing. So a lot of agencies use those services to be more efficient, to be more profitable, to be more confident in the results. If you want to kind of offload a little bit of the worry or the liability, you can have us do the audits. And again, when you use our services, when you use our specialists, when you follow our recommendations, we're happy to provide certifications at the end of the projects. And then remind your clients about accessibility whenever you get the chance. This is kind of a squeaky wheel gets the grease type of situation. Don't just talk about this, once a year or when the website gets built. If you've built a website with web accessibility best practices built in and you notice your clients adding issues, notify them. Let them know that they're causing accessibility errors on their website and that they should, use the Chrome extension to not do that or contact your team to get some help. So the more you can talk about accessibility, the more it will stay front of mind, both internally and externally with your clients. And this is kind of one of the biggest things. This is really how we've built our brand here. When we first got started in this space, everything was just doom and gloom. Don't get sued, avoid lawsuits, and certainly compliance is a big part of this. But accessibility goes so far beyond compliance, and we really want to celebrate the positive pieces of this because when we're thinking about the positive, it just makes it feel better. And this is such important work. So accessibility, the way we've built Ramp, the way we'd encourage you to approach it, it's just good UX. So we approach this from a perspective of universal design. We are improving the experiences for everyone. This is just another skill set for every member of your team to learn to help create better websites, applications, and digital experiences for everyone. There's a lot of other benefits as well, kind of ancillary benefits in having just clean, semantically coded websites that follow WCAG. So we see a lot of SEO benefits, and then kind of something that's more modern, more recently been coming up is AI bots. So if your website's built so that it can be parsed cleanly by a screen reader or other assistive technology, chances are you've increased the likelihood, the ability of a bot to move through And more we're seeing folks lean into accessibility to help AI bots do things like make orders or buy tickets or make a reservation. And then, most importantly, where I really want to put a bow on this is loyal customers. So people with disabilities are an underserved segment of the population online. Talk to your friends and folks you know with disabilities, and everyone has a story, has so many stories about just the awful experiences, the frustrations they've had online. And they notice when they are using a website or app that is accessible, that caused a great experience. And they usually know that it's not accessible by accident. Nothing is accessible by accident. Somebody put in the time to make sure that they had a good experience. And we found time and time again that that can result in very loyal customers, very happy customers. And people with disabilities have money just like anyone else. And so if you can get loyal customers here, you've now added to the revenue coming into your business. And it's just good business. All right, so we're gonna take a break from the webinars. Like I said, we're breaking on Christmas break here, but we will be back on the 9th and with choosing the correct semantic role. We will be completing a manual audit on 116, on 123, how to proceed with your accessibility audit results. And then on the 30th of January, we're going to get into Meta Smart Glasses. So really excited about this one. Heather, a member of our team, is going to be chatting about her experience using Meta Smart Glasses, which was pretty mind-blowing when she first came into the office talking about it. So join us in future webinars. And with that, I am going to stop sharing.